Before his eyes, the elements of life are portrayed for him in jewel box microcosm. There's a struggle for food, the antagonisms and rivalries for space and a home, the play of the sexes, for growth, the ripening of old age and death. As his interest grows, the worries of the business day gradually fade from his mind. Its nerves at long last relax, and he is freed of the cares of life for a brief moment. This is a quote from the 1947 issue of the Aquarium Journal, yet not something most people think about when they come across an aquarium. But if one pauses and looks, you can see all this and more. You can see fish chase each other around for food, or at school around it. And if sometimes you're lucky, you can even find a few babies. And just the simple act of stopping and watching can engross you. I've been around aquariums my whole life. For as long as I can remember, my dad had a tank, and it was only a matter of time till I had my own. Yet many people are unaware of the hardships of owning an aquarium, as well as the reward it brings. I'll be discussing some common misconceptions involved with aquariums, and some problems the aquarium trade has been involved in, and finally some benefits of owning an aquarium. The first big question that can be debated is if owning a pet, or owning an aquarium is a hobby or a pet. Fish do not seem to fit into the pet category. You cannot really interact with pets or fish all too much. Fish will generally swim away from you when you approach, and only come out for food or when you leave. You cannot play with fish like with a dog or a cat, and even some reptiles you can pick up and interact with. Truly, an aquarium would then seem like a piece of living art instead of a pet. Yet in a survey of 109 aquarium owners by Alan and Robert Kidd, 72% consider them a pet, and only 10% consider them a hobby. But keeping fish is easy, some people would say. Many people cannot tell what's wrong with this picture of Ast. It's fairly cheap too. This bowl from Walmart is only $7, and with a beta for $3, that's $10 for your own mini aquarium. So what's wrong with that? The living conditions of fish sometimes seem to be forgotten by people. This poor fish is living in a tiny space, with no filter, so his droppings just pile up on the floor. There's no thermometer to tell how hot or how cold his water is. And since it's a tiny space, his water needs to be changed much more often. This is comparable to one of us being trapped in a tiny room with no bathroom, so we just have to go on the floor and hope somebody cleans it up before ammonia levels get too high and kill us. There's also no place for this fish to hide in. Something fish like to do is it helps lower their stress. Imagine you're back in that tiny room and now there's some giant monsters staring at you. That's got to be pretty stressful. To give an example of cost of setting up a tank, I went down to the PetSmart in the town center to set up our own 10-gallon aquarium, which is only 1 foot by 1 foot. For $80, we get a tank, filter, net, water testing kit, heater, thermometer, and hood with LED lighting. But we're not done yet. We need gravel, which will be $10 for a 10-gallon tank. Finally, we need some decorations, which can vary from $10 to $20 to even more dollars. So now we've already spent over $100, and we don't even have fish yet. You can imagine how this price increases as we get to much bigger sized tanks. So now comes the real expensive part, fish. With a rule of around 1 inch of fish per 1 gallon of tank, which varies because fish do in fact grow and are not limited by tank size, I decided upon 4 neon tetras, 1 Cody catfish, 2 Dalmatian mollies, and 2 swordtails for our 10-gallon tank, all for around $30 each. And that's cheap for fish. Saltwater fish can easily be $30 each or more. So now our little 1 foot by 1 foot aquarium is done, and we've easily spent over $150. The aquarium trade has been well known to be a cause for the decrease in saltwater species of fish, and the U.S. alone is responsible for $1.6 billion of a $4 billion industry. As demand for fish grows, many are captured before they're too young, and they can't reproduce. The most common method of capturing these fish is with sodium cyanide. The sodium cyanide paralyzes the fish, yet also causes them to be sick, and some might not survive the trip to either the pet store or even your own home. The sodium cyanide also damages surrounding coral, which are a large part of saltwater aquariums. Coral reefs face constant threats from global warming, which causes their photosynthetic plankton to leave, as well as from pollution, which clouds the water, making it difficult for sunlight to reach them. This, along with harvesting for aquariums, has placed many coral reefs in danger. However, many people wish to own corals without taking them from their natural habitat, so companies have started aqua farming both marine species as well as corals. This provides a source for these species without removing them from their natural habitat. So this seems like a lot of work and money for fish. Why bother? The reasons seem to vary from person to person. Some enjoy the sense of accomplishment of setting up an aquarium and the challenge of maintaining it. Others simply enjoy the beauty, while some enjoy the calming and relaxing effects of watching a tank. And for some, it's all of these. Stress-relieving effects of tanks have been well tested, and it's one of the many reasons you can find them in doctor's offices or in the case in Finding Nemo in the dentist's office. Of our 109 previously mentioned aquarium owners, 3 of them were told by physicians to get a tank to reduce blood pressure, and it worked for them. Tanks are also great with kids. Of our 109 aquarium owners, 36% said their kids liked the tank, and 33% said they loved them. None of the kids were afraid of the fish. Sometimes a dog or a cat is too much responsibility for children, and simply helping mom or dad feed the fish, and eventually alone, can be a great way to learn responsibility. But sometimes it's simply you live in an apartment or home where dogs aren't allowed, so you get fish and grow attached to them. So although aquarium fish might be perceived as boring, and although the aquarium trade has caused some problems for these fish, and many of the coral live around, fish remain a popular pet choice. Here are the common relaxing effects. If you can weather the initial storm of setting up your aquarium, then for the rest of your aquarium experience, you can enjoy your own jewel box microcosm with its own struggles for food, the antagonisms and rivalries for space and a home, the play of the sexes, birth, growth, and death. And you can relax and be freed of the cares of life for a brief moment.